That we are at a tie match at the drop. Double gen pop to avoid the deadlock. They do go down. There is a haste status effect. They did be careful here. The hatch is going to spawn momentarily. Dead Hard could get them the distance to get it too. Shot.
Really smart play on the ace. Oh my god, getting shot through the window.
No longer have distortion, and they are going to teleport here. I think they get there in time. Yes!
Holy crap, yes!
Oh my god!
That is disappointing. This is be a 4-man out because...
Yeah, but they will be able to block this. Yo, getting caught on that. Ace coming with the body block, though. Oh, they were here.
Hey, what is up, guys? It's Giltspire here, and welcome back to Champions of the Fog. We are here today with Iconic versus Chronicles for round 5 of Group B, and I am joined with DbdOpinions. How you doing today?
I am doing good. Honestly, it's been a week, but this is the perfect way to settle down after just a really long week.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. You know, not sure if it will be relaxing or if it will just get you that much more hyped up. With that being said, we'll give you a quick heads up. We are experiencing some lobby bug issues, so we're going to try and reconnect again. If we are unable to, however, then we will take another quick break and get things sorted out. You know, DBD doing DBD things, but with that being said, cross your fingers, burn your offerings while you can, and, you know, DBD just doing DBD things apparently today.
Of course.
So, with that being said, while we have this moment, while we get things figured on out, we do want to give a quick shout out to all of you viewers here today, because if you aren't part of the Discord, you might not know we just applied for our Twitch partnership. So wicked hyped about that. Want to say thank you to all our viewers, and we'll thank you all again later. But with that being said, we'll keep you updated on that, and we'll keep you updated on the happenings of this match as we do get this lobby set on up. With that being said, we'll be back in just a hot minute. We'll see you soon. After crossing our fingers, burning our offerings, and sending some prayers to the entity, we have finally loaded into trial number 1 of Iconic versus Chronicles, and we are going to be kicking things off by going to the Dead Dog Saloon, where we are going to go get a nurse mirror match with Chronicles killing first. So let's jump right on in, as Heck will be piloting the nurse against Iconic Survivor team. So
very nice.
What are your thoughts here? You know, after all the Uggabaloo, that was a med kit?
I know, just a random med kit sitting there. Not sure what the intention was of that one, but a free first hit for the nurse. I imagine this Nia might be going down fairly quickly. See if she, caught her right. Not swinging. Possibly turned away to
getting a very cheeky grab there.
Yeah.
That was a really good start there from the nurse. Nia actually playing a really smart and doubling back there, forcing nurse to make sure that she is unable to shorten her blink. However, that there will result in the first hook here for Nia, putting these survivors in a bit of a rough spot, as that was a very quick first hook.
It was very, very quick indeed. With that hook, with that down, in fact, Corrupt is now going to go away, so the survivors now have free reign over any of the gens they want to do. This one with not too much progress on it, but we're going to give it a little kick anyway.
You know, it can never be too careful with these survivors. A percent of progress can go a long way. And with that being said, we do see that generator highlighted in yellow. So these survivors will soon know whether or not that is a eruption or a call of brine. But looks like we do see the unhook in the background and a for the people from the Atom. These survivors wanting to stop the tunnel if at all possible. However, Nia will become injured pretty quickly thereafter.
Absolutely. For the people trying to possibly diverge the attention, but it is just not going to work. This nurse has a clear target in mind, and it is going to be that Nia.
Yeah, really quick 2-tap here from Heck the nurse, doing a fantastic job of managing these survivors. Do want to note, for those of you who have been paying attention, not only was that highlight gen eruption, but we also are seeing a Scourge Hook Pain Resonance. These survivors are also keenly aware of the existence of a overcharge. This nurse going full into the general aggression build.
You gotta love it in comp. Very effective build, but man, just in a normal pubs game, oh god, I hate to see it. A nurse with gen regression, oh man, dude.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's worse, a nurse with gen regression or a nurse with starstruck, agitation, awakened awareness, etc.
Take your poison, take your pick. Which one do you hate less?
Yeah, that is fair, that is fair. Honestly, I think all nurses should instead bring no perks at all, because honestly, what nurse needs it?
True.
But nurse
possibly looking just to camp out the Nia on hook.
Yeah, except I think the nurse making the right move here. If you do take a look at that hook progression part, it did stop suddenly, suggesting the existence of kinship on that Nia to try and extend the hook duration just a little bit longer. So nurse diving off, getting a hit on the Jake, but now going directly back into Chase, and a very clean hit there on the Nia. This nurse is wasting no time at all getting this down.
Oh, and just not a long chase at all. This nurse has been so precise with their blinks. I don't think they've missed a single swing so far.
No, they have been pretty much on point through and through, and this Nia, unfortunately, just the target of the nurse's ire, as they will be the first one sent back to the campfire via the entity. Nurse, though, will note, has lost 2 gens. It's not a great position for these survivors to be in, but it's not impossible for them to at least get another couple gens, try and ensure that their nurse has a better chance than what they were handed.
I agree. I think a lot of teams with a nurse that is playing as good as they are right now, they don't manage to get 2 gens done. So I think it is very respectable and should be complimented that they were able to get these gens done so quickly.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. We will say that we do see Jake here, unfortunately, going to go down pretty quick, unable to get healed. And Nurse now just able to do a whole lot of damage here, whether it be with Scourge Hook, Pain Resonance, Overcharge, Eruption. These survivors are going to have a really hard time.
Yeah, just not the spot that Jake wanted to be caught in. And from going and patrolling these gens, not a lot of them had any substantial progress.
Yeah, mainly like a quarter, if that, on these gens. Gallows, we saw some work earlier. However, survivors in the distance unhooking the Jake. And looks like the Nurse will go back once again for the potential tunnel out.
Absolutely. But with the built-in endurance effect, this timer did not run out just yet. But this Nurse being this Nurse, able to catch up in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, no, really impressive on Hex part. However, that there is a decisive strike. Getting Jake just a little bit of distance. However, it will be enough as they try and shorten their blink and end up in the basement. That was a huge, huge turning point there for these survivors. Nurse, concerned that they are going to get some more gens, will drop chase on the Jake instead of going for the tunnel out. And we do see the kick on the gen here, and knowing that Jake is in the back of main, I wonder if they're going for that dropped medkit.
I see what you might be thinking about. They indeed might be going for that. That, just the blink into the basement, that was so much wasted time for what could have been a quick down. Really unfortunate that happened to them.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what we saw earlier with the Nia as she tried to force the Nurse to shorten their blink and make that mistake. You either shorten the blink and end up in a floor below, or you fatigue out instead and lose a little bit of time. And we saw there, Heck just making that pivotal mistake. However, Jake getting caught out here in the corner, and it looks like they will end up going down in the comp corner.
And it looks like in the distance we did have a little bit of eruption value. I think somebody was caught on the gen. I might have not seen that right, but I think somebody will be incapacitated on that far gen.
Yeah, on top of which we do note there, the score of Vent, Scourge Hook, Pain Resonance will activate on that gen, and looks like Gallows will be regressed by 15%. If that was the most progressed gen, these survivors are in a world of hurt. I wouldn't say that the Nurse has a 3-gen here. I'd almost say that the Nurse here almost has like a 5-gen.
That's just dead dog being dead dog. I feel like just with how small the map is, it's so easy for survivors to just get stuck with these clumped together gens, and it just feels impossible sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes RNG does spread them out pretty well, but this one here just really did stack them into this one area, and pretty much the Nurse can just manage to get from point A to point B all day long as they move 20 meters at a time per blink. But looks like Nurse here going for the kick, and looks like we will see some more eruption value if they do get another down. Want to note that Claudette's still injured, but Nurse will drop chase here in exchange for some gen kicks. And these guys definitely need to be a bit careful here at Gallows, as that is Jake, but a bit of a misfire there on the blink will cost them some distance.
Balance landing on the Jake, getting the heck out of there, and looks like she is not going to be committing a quick for the people action.
Yeah, Adam once again coming up to for the people, try and extend chase if at all possible on these tunnel out targets. Do want to note though, I feel like that may have been a bit of a jerk me reaction as, you know, Nurse is not in chase. They probably had enough time to go for the normal heal, but maybe scared by the terror radius opted to go for the people instead.
Yeah, I agree. I don't even think Adam was in sight, Adam or Claudette, but again, that panic can set in and just be like, okay, we gotta do it right now, go.
Yeah, exactly. Do want to note that we do see that skill check noise notification there in the distance off of the overcharge. So overcharge getting a little bit of value outside of its base regression. That 10% skill check miss is quite significant, regressing the gen by a total of 9 seconds. However, once again, Nurse trying to play the gens, being very conservative here in chases, will end up dropping chase on Adams instead, going for the Claudette, who will end up going down.
Eruption going off on all 3 of the gens that have been affected. Not a hook here. but we will be going over by the gallows now. But these survivors are in a very tricky spot. Jake, what you planning here? What you
I think Jake was hoping to try and get a whiff there and potentially maybe a hit as well to stop the Claudette from moving to the hook. However, Jake being on death hook, that was a very, very risky play.
Absolutely. Gallows Gen does have a little bit of progress on it. They have been able to chug along on that just a bit.
Yeah, for what it's worth, the Survivor's doing a really good job trying to manage this gen progress. And I will say, Jacob is doing a fantastic job on Gallows, using that bounce landing to perfection, really making it hard for the nurse to really want to engage with them in chase.
Yeah, absolutely. And her patrolling these two gens right here, Jay caught a beautiful prediction from the nurse. And no, we're really,
going for that M1. Going for that M1 attempt was surprising to say the least.
And if am I mistaken? Is this Jake eliminated from the trial, or is this just second for him? This is Jake eliminated.
Yep, that is Jake sent back to the campfire via the entity. That is now 2 survivors out of the game with 3 gens remaining. Like I said, these survivors in some way, shape, or form are going to want to get a gen, 2 gens done to make things a bit easier on their own killer. But at this rate, things are looking quite grim.
It is, but I agree, just getting, and it's just seeming more and more unlikely by the second, but even just one more gen could make the difference, but it's looking like that might not be a possibility unless Claudette has Unbreakable in their back pocket, maybe.
Yeah, it's definitely not outside the realm possibility. Nurse going for a cheeky window swing there, unable for it to connect, but Nurse has all the time in the world right now. They're slugging for the 4K, trying to ensure that they get the down in a place where they can guarantee no hatch escapes. But looks like Adam here going to be bringing to the other side of the map, maybe trying to get them away from the Claudette, where they could potentially attempt for a bleed out instead, which would rob the nurse of a total of 2 points.
It would, and a Dead Dog with all of its tall grass and everything, it's not the worst place to try to hide for a bleed out, but Claudette does have a lot of time before she does bleed out, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm looking like another 3 minutes. I do want to note here, this aggressive pull for the nurse. I want to say Adam probably screaming at their monitor as we speak, as that was probably close to a 99% wiggle off. And I do want to know, I don't know if we have seen Deliverance so far in this match.
We have not.
Adam could potentially have that in hand.
He could very well indeed. I'm curious to see. This nurse, I was starting to think maybe not, they might not want to go too far from the shack in case he does try to pull a cheeky little Deliverance.
Yeah, it is not a still the realm possibility. However, do you want to note that Claudette is now 2 minutes into the bleed out timer, and sure enough, there is the Deliverance in the distance. Adam back up on his feet off the hook. But Claudette here, time is ticking away. It is possible that these survivors might be trying to set up for the bleed out tech. However, Nurse checking every bush and cranny they can will end up finding the Claudette.
It looks like we are just going to be trying to hook as close as we can to Shack so that we can deny Adam the ability to escape through the hatch. And it is looking like this Adam's going to have to work some magic in order to get out of this one.
Yeah, Exegates haven't really been paying much attention to them, so trying to get a read of where they're at. Nurse, I think, trying to do the same. Depending on their positioning, they might be able to attempt an escape via, but we'll have to wait and see. Claudette does end up suiciding on the hook, going back to the campfire via the entity, and now it all comes down to the broken Adam. Can he escape?
All right, let's see these gates. Not
horrible.
Yeah, I don't want to say like it's the best thing in the world for them, but because we are against the nurse right now. But yeah, this is not horrible. This is not outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah, however, looks like Nurse did see the Adam there in the distance. And unless Adam can somehow find a Dead by Daylight miracle, I do think this here will be the last chase of this trial, as Nurse will down the Adam for the final time, ending trial number 1 of set 1, Chronicles versus Iconic.
It was very well done. GG from both sides. It is just a shame the survivors were not able to whip out one more gen. A lot of them had so much progress, but they were never able to finish one of them.
Yeah, definitely a rough situation to say the least, but with that being said, we are going to be switching sides now. Iconic's Nurse will be against Chronicles Survivor Team. In order to claim victory, they're going to need to get a 4K before 2 gens are completed, or to force a tie, a 4K at 2 gens completed. We'll have to wait and see if Iconic's team is up to the task. But with that being said, we are going to go on a quick little break. But before we do, we want to remind everyone here today that you, yes you, the viewers, are our sponsors. So that as they watch all the bits they tip on the subsidy buy, and of course all the Rogue Energy buy using the code COTF goes to supporting Group A and Group B's prize pools. And also, thank you all for joining us as we have officially applied for our Twitch partnership. So thank you all for the support over these last 2 years. And we will see you for trial number 2 shortly. right, and we are back. Once again, after a plethora of DBD lobby issues, this last update has made custom games quite a difficult process. With that being said, fingers crossed, and please, once again, burn your blood point offerings for our success. We are jumping right on into trial number 2 of Chronicles versus Iconic. This time, Iconic's nurse versus Chronicles survivor team on the Dead Dog Saloon.
I'm so excited to see this one. Now, the survivors, I think they do kind of have a clear objective they need to be shooting for going into this. They just need to get 3 generators done. And if I'm not mistaken, that'll secure the set for them, right?
That is correct. You are on point with your math today. These survivors need only 3 generators. Definitely not a tall order, but this nurse, I imagine, bringing all the regression in the world to try and slow things down just a little bit.
Ooh, a quick hit on the Claudette, was not able to get into the locker in time. This nurse might have just no problem catching up. Sure enough, able to catch her around the corner, and that is going to be a very quick first down, but also ending corrupt as well.
Yeah, really, really good, fast chase. And I mean, very similar to what we saw in the last trial. We do see a skill check noise notification there in the distance, as well as see a Scourge Choke Pain Resonance score event go off, or aggressive most progressed gen by a whopping 15%.
Ooh, they have been chugging along on this gen, though. That does have quite a bit of progress on it. I think they are standing by just like, okay, we just got going. We gotta rush these gens. Easy peasy.
Yeah, I mean, that is what you need to do, and the nurse is not wasting any time. However, not going for the tunnel, instead going for the chase on the Ada here, trying their best to spread out the pain if at all possible. Kind of makes a little bit of sense in all honesty, as this makes the survivors have to heal, take 16, 32 seconds away from gens, rather than going for the tunnel. I think this is the smart move if they're able to get quick successive downs.
I agree. The nurse has quite a tall order in order to secure the victory for their team, and they need to do everything they can. Just try to snowball the match as much as possible.
Yeah, however, this gen is cranking out, and once again, we do see that gen highlighted in yellow. Once again, could be an eruption, could be a call of brine, though I imagine that we will see a bit of eruption here, as this nurse wants to use all the gen regression possible. Claudette trying their best to get some distance, does successfully do so here, and looks like they will go down here, activating eruption.
Indeed, they were able to juice for a little bit of time, able to waste a lot of time for them to crank on the gens. Looking like we are quickly going back to patrol on them before we go for the hook, but the first gen of the match does pop.
Ooh. Getting caught up on the cactus there. It is a prickly one catching on the nurse's clothes. And we will see the hit on Adam here. However, heck, the nurse in our previous match. Let's see if they're able to get the down. They are not able to. Really cheeky play there with the life, getting a little bit of extra distance too.
Absolutely. Oh, and just another whiff from the nurse. They need to be catching up and getting these downs if they want to try to stop them before they pop 3 gens.
Yeah,
oh, and another one.
But Adam doing such an amazing job using these obstacles to their fullest, just forcing the nurse to try and blink around them. You know, going for these swings, it's risky. Some of them are going to connect. One of them's going to connect eventually, as we see the nurse M1 the Adam down there.
Honestly, I don't blame them. Once you start missing like 2 to 3 blinks, you start missing all of them. You start to get a little bit tilted and you're just missing everything. So just walk up and give them a little smack. How about?
But another Scourge Choke Pain Resonance here, regressing the gen by another 15%. We do see blood on the ground, that they're very likely being the Ada. Do you want to note here as well that these survivors doing a really good job of avoiding the eruption activation, potentially stopping off of gens for, you know, a good 5, 10, 15 seconds at a time, but that does not seem to slow them down as 2 gens have now been completed, and we're kind of in a very similar setup that we were in last time. A bit of a group in here, a little bit looser, I will say, than the last trial, but still, not a bad position for the nurse to be in.
Right. We do have all survivors still remaining in the trial, and with 2 gens that we know of, with quite a bit of progress on them, this nurse is gonna have to do some fancy work in order to catch up.
Yeah, but that there will be the eruption activation and another Scourge Hook Pain Resonance. I think based on this gen spread, there's a very real possibility that they might be able to kind of pull out another 4K at 2 gens completed.
It is very much in the realm of possibility. I'm very excited to see what the survivors are going to be able to pull.
Yeah, we do see that drop down by the Zarina, looking like another bounce landing, kind of the Jake of this situation. Let's see if the Zarina is able to pull out some longer chases than the Jake did prior. If so, I think the survivors might be able to get this. Though a really awkward tile here for the nurse. Zarina making the best of it too, getting them some extra distance and some extra time up in chase.
Yeah, getting caught on the window, but when they're caught out in the open like that, the nurse has no problem just going in for the quick down.
Yeah, however, nurse trying their best to get this arena to a Scourge Hook, I imagine here. Not sure if they're gonna have enough time, though. Survivors taking time to heal.
I don't know. Is it time to heal, or is it time to just use all our resources and try to crank out the gens?
I mean, that is a very good point. Like we said, they only need 1 more generator here. If they're able to successfully complete 1 more gen, they are going to take set number 1. They know the win condition here, but this nurse is really starting to apply the pressure.
I agree. I did not see a world where they were able to spread out pressure like this with how quick they were able to get those 2 gens, but they're pulling it off. And honestly, I see it being anyone's game right now.
Yeah, I'd absolutely be with you there. Both Adam and the Claudette currently on death hook, 1 hook away from being sent back to the campfire via the entity. So if they're able to find the Claudette here, I think that there might just be game over.
I agree. This nurse has shown that in this situation, just camping out somebody on hook was not the play at all, but instead going out, trying to get multiple downs, get multiple people on hook. That is the most effective way to tackle this situation.
Yeah, and they are doing a fantastic job of it. Once again, get another down. Ada now 1 hook away before being sent back to the campfire themselves. There's the Claudette, though, getting caught up on that barrel there. That could cost them if the Ada is able to get off the shoulder.
Ooh, it was a close one. I'm sure just these darn barrels, these darn cacti, just all in the way.
Yeah, it would be seemed that way. The nurse probably going to want to do some spring cleaning here in Dead Dog Saloon before too long. But we are now at 3 survivors on death hook. Zarina only 1 not. And at this point in time, I think that the nurse really has just brought it all back into their favor. And I think we're going to be seeing a tie set for set number 1, forcing a set number 3.
I think that is definitely in the realm of possibility. Just this central hook right here, with all the gens surrounding it, it has been a wonderful spot for them to just hunker down. And the survivors have no choice but basically to come in and trade like this over and over and over again.
Yeah, no, exactly. And without the gens being that far away, those corner gens would have been really, really powerful to try and force the nurse into some awkward chases. But as we're seeing here, these gens just keep on getting hit by Scourge Hook after Scourge Hook, eruption after eruption, overcharge after overcharge, and they just really can't do much about it.
Right. I remember at the beginning of that match, that gen right there had so much progress on it, and now it's down to just nothing.
Yeah, but Adam now trying to bring the nurse out from the gens, and nurse kind of seeing that. I think that's the right move here by survivors, especially as all of them are now on death hook as well. You know, I think they need to take their time, get healed, work on the gens bit by bit, and it's going to end up with a very grindy end game.
Ooh, yeah, we might be in the we might be in the long end game now. We'll just have to see. All this nurse needs is to catch somebody out of place and able to get the quick down. And sure enough, we catch Zarina not in the best place. Claudette trying to get the light burn, but unsuccessful.
Yeah, that is exactly what the nurse needed and what the doctor ordered, as the Zarina is going to be sent back to the campfire via the entity. That's going to be the first survivor out of the match with 2 gens completed, 3 left, and these gens just have ground to a absolute halt.
Hey, you viewers at home, you're missing your skill checks on overcharge. It's okay. The pros do it too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Those difficult skill checks definitely can surprise you. Well, looks like the Ada going to be trying to bring the nurse back into this corner. I will say there are a few gens that we have not seen in a hot minute. So it's potential that these survivors are really just trying to crank out this 3rd gen somewhere deep within the map. But things are looking quite grim. Nurse looking around, though, for a Scourge Hook. I don't think they have one here.
They might not. Yeah, we will see soon enough. These 2 hooks being the only option for them. And Ada sent back to the campfire, and sure enough, it looks like that was not a Scourge Hook, but not sure if they needed one to begin with, but we'll soon find out.
Yeah, absolutely. Gens keep on regressing. I was thinking that maybe this gen here had a little bit more progress than it did, as we hadn't seen it in quite some time. The nurse had not come by and kicked it, but sure enough, we will see that it does not have all that much regression. The only other out here for these survivors is a potential hatch play. If they can play to the hatch, get that 1 extra point, that there would secure them the victory.
Indeed, indeed. And would a bleed out as well technically secure him the victory?
No, a bleed out would get them 1 point. It's 1 point for the hook, 1 point for the bleed out. So in this case, the bleed out would actually be the exact same as if the nurse hooked them instead. And we do see that skill check miss there on the main building.
Gonna go just take a quick peeky peek real quick. Imagine whoever's here might have already made the distance out of here. And then I'm sure we're just gonna give the gen a little love tap real quick and just go back to patrolling.
Yeah, I will say that Jen has some decent amount of progress. If the survivor by some means is able to hit their skill check, not get the noise notification for the nurse to come back, there's a very real possibility that they might be able to complete that if the nurse gets a little bit too tunnel vision on Adam.
I agree, that would be huge. That would absolutely be the comeback they needed, and arguably, Adam getting that lithe in there, the nurse nowhere to go with their blink, but they might be able to make a hit nonetheless, and sure enough, they are.
Yeah, that there was a little bit of a questionable decision on the Adams part, trying to play very risky here. And keep in mind, our Eruption will hit the gen on main, so even if the Claudette is up there, which she will be incapacitated for the next 25 seconds. A huge, huge shame here, as honestly, I think if the Adam had just started running to the corner of the map where the gens had already completed, I bet you the nurse would have just left him.
I agree. This nurse, she came in with such a difficult task to prevent them from popping 3 generators, and just the power from the nurses on both of these teams, they have proved just what a powerhouse she can be.
Yeah, absolutely. But with that being said, it looks like the nurse is going to be checking every nook and cranny that Dead Dog Saloon has to offer before it came to Jen, not wanting to allow the escape from the Claudette. But nurse now also having kind of concerned about where the Adam might be. There is a possibility that these survivors try and go for a bleed out tech, because even though the Adam might bleed out on the ground, the Claudette would be able to escape via the hatch. So this is going to be interesting. I will warn viewers real quick, we used all 3 of our snoozes last match, as that nurse match was also really grindy, also due to extended lobby times. So with that being said, for those of you who are not subscribed or do not have Twitch Turbo, you are going to get a 3-minute ad. I promise you ain't going to miss all too much, and if you do, there is always the VOD. But with that being said, you're going to get an ad in just another minute and 20 seconds. Want to give you guys a quick heads up about that.
going as far to check the basement, just checking every nook and cranny that this Adam could be hiding in. And this map, it can be very tricky to find people that you leave bleeding out on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Adam probably, in all honesty, may have just crawled all the way to the other side of the map where the Nurse just doesn't want to be. However, Nurse finding the Adam out of nowhere.
There he is.
And it now comes down to the Claudette. Is she able to escape via the hatch or the exit gate? Nurse looking around, trying to see where they might be. The animation's about 15 seconds, meaning that the Claudette would have to do something quick in order to sneak underneath the Nurse here and crawl out via the hatch. Though it looks like they might be going for an escape play instead.
Right, and if my eyes don't deceive me, yeah, not the best gates for the survivor, in my opinion. Just kind of a clear line of sight along the edge of the map there.
Yeah, that is going to be much rougher to deal with in comparison to the exit gate setup from before. Nurse here can just sit right in the middle, and unfortunately, I think there is no way out for the Claudette here today.
Just go find a key real quick. Just run down the basement, find a key, just get out of there.
Yeah, one can hope, one can wish, but the Nurse has found the Claudette, and that there will be the final chase of this match, resulting in a tie set for set number 1.
I honestly can't believe it. Both nurses just did an incredible job, clearly very evenly matched.
Yeah, absolutely. They did an amazing job here, coming from a very difficult position. But that being said, GG, well played to both teams, and we are going to get set up for trial number 2, set number 3 of Iconic versus Chronicles. That being said, though, before we do go, we do want to remind everyone here today that we are partnered with Pugdom. Pugdom is a competitive Dead by Daylight community much like ours. They run tournaments and events themselves, and they are hosting the second half of Group B over on their channel. So if you guys haven't already, make sure to stop on by, say hi, drop a follow, so you do not miss a single moment of Champions of the Fog. With that being said, we'll be back in just a bit. right, and we are back once again for the set to define all sets for these teams. This is set number 2, the Plague Mirror Match on the Suffocation Pit, Iconic versus Chronicles, and Iconic will be killing once again versus Chronicles Survivor Team.
Like you said, this is the match to end all matches right now. Both killers are going to have to pull out the best they can do and to come home for their team.
Yep, so just to clarify what the results of this match will be, if no matter what, whatever team wins set number 2, they will walk away the victor of this match. And with that being said, a very early down there for the Plague. A really impressive showing there, getting that quick infection, and a really strong start, to say the least.
A really strong start indeed. That is, I couldn't think of a better start for the Plague, but Zarina looking to pop. Oh, Plague wasted no time. She's like, okay, bet. And she is squaring up for the 1v1 right now.
Yeah, honestly, the right move here. This really does force the Zarina's hand, as, you know, these survivors now need to go and pick up the Nancy rather than having her just wiggle off her shoulder. So now the Plague really is in control of the situation.
I agree. We have 3 survivors now who are fully infected, and it's been, what, like a minute 30? This is such a strong start for the Plague.
Yeah, the Plague doing a really good job of slowing things down here just a bit, and now choosing violence as they will drink from their corrupt pool.
Yeah, the Plague woke up this morning and chose violence. They are going to be going around now and seeing if they can get any quick little... And sure enough, we catch Adam out in the middle of nowhere. Not much for Adam to go. Gonna have to do some fancy footwork to avoid this one.
Yeah, honestly, doing a really good job there, using the objects to their advantage. However, they will get it down, and we will see a eruption pop off right there.
Indeed. Just gonna go and tap this gen real quick and see if we can catch anyone else with about 20 seconds remaining on our Vile Purge here.
Yeah, honestly, getting some really good usage here out of the Vile Purge, or the Corrupt Purge here. Adam, though, trying to crawl to the corner to waste some time. Looks like the Plague will end up getting to the hook, and looks like that there will be a Meg infected as well, potentially jumping on an infected gen. However, I do believe we see the Zarina in the distance there.
Yes, and that Meg just, and caught in the worst spot on the pallet there. The Zarina just not able to drop it in time. This Plague, all the pressure in the world right now.
Yeah, honestly, doing a great job here. No gens completed, and not a lot of Scourge Hooks, if any, I'm seeing so far. So it does not appear that the Plague has a Scourge Hook in hand. Definitely
funny how that can be a rare sighting nowadays. It's just no Scourge Hooks? What?
It really is at times. You know, Scourge Hook just really is a staple of competitive play due to the fact that after the pop rework, it's one of the better perks as it has that flat 15% regression.
Right, just so strong. And at least from the matches I've seen, I can't speak for all of them, the ones I've commentated this past week, I have been seeing less Call of Brine. Would that be the case at all?
Yes, so based on what we're seeing, we are seeing less and less Call of Brine, which makes a lot of sense. However, what does not make as much sense there is the Meg's reverse throw there. Maybe not realizing what side the Plague was coming from, as they did take a moment to drink their corrupt pool. And that there will be the first gen popping off as well for these survivors.
Just an unfortunate situation for that Meg to be caught in. Like you mentioned, one gen popping in the distance. We gotta hope there's a lot more gens to come for these survivors if they are looking to claim the victory.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But this is a really difficult position here for the survivors to be in. A gen regression, pallets gone, Plague with their corrupt purge for another 15 seconds or so. They're gonna have to let the survivor hang on the hook for a little bit, especially as they're all broken as of this moment in time.
Indeed, and Plague cleaning up the map over here on this side, seeming like we want to be protecting a lot of the gens on this side.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for Suffocation Pit. You really do not want to play the entirety of the map if you can help it. You really want to just be kind of claiming your territory. And we see this 4-gen here on this side of the map. And I think Plague is just going to stake their claim, lord over their territory, and watch as this Meg does progress to second stage.
It does look that way, and honestly, I don't blame them. They hold all the cards right now, and they're like, hey, survivors, why don't you come over here? Why don't you come over to my side and we can play? Sure enough, survivors are going to be taking advantage of Plague staying on this side and trying to pop some gens on the other side. But they need to come in for this rescue.
Yeah, at some point or another, they're going to have to do so, though Plague actually venturing out into the distance, it would seem, as we do see 2 cleanses. However, Nancy, kind of caught out in no man's land here, will be going down in the comp corner.
Yes. 2 survivors now have been caught in this very unfortunate corner with not much for them to work with.
Honestly, looking like a very similar result here to the nurse matches prior. It's possible that these survivors only complete 2 generators at this point in time.
It is looking like it could shape up to be that way. This gen with quite a bit of progress on it, though. We'll see if they're able to get that done, but by doing that, they are securing that the Plague only has to stay on that side of the map down there, and that might not be the most ideal situation for them.
Yeah, that is true, and something to think about. You know, that looked like a 99 gen. Maybe survivors trying to play around Deadlock, but we haven't seen Deadlock this entire match. So opting to not go for the pop and instead going for the unhook in the distance, trying to keep Meg in the game in one way, shape, or form.
You have some progress on the gens over on this side of the map. After the unhook, the survivors wasted no time getting to work on these gens. And we catch Zarina out in the distance. Got a quick tile here for them to go, but they might just be caught in a really bad spot right now, doing some fancy mind games, seeing if we can catch them out of place.
Yeah, both sides really holding to the corner as much as they can, waste as much time as possible. However, the Plague will get the down eventually. And another gen popping off for the survivors, however.
Yes, and if I'm not mistaken, it was that one on Shaq's side of the map. So it looks like just these 4 gens here are all the ones Plague has to worry about now.
Yeah, it would appear that way. Another kick of this gen here. Got some really good progression. However, Overcharge Eruption going to regress that pretty significantly. And none of the gens on this side of the map have really been able to get any work done this entire time.
Nancy possibly trying to get Plague to switch over to this side of the map. We'll see if they commit or not. And I was starting to say, just hold your territory over there. You have all the pressure in the world over there. There is no reason for you to go to the other side of the map anymore.
Yeah, really, they can just kind of grind this match out bit by bit, especially as survivors become infected and the pools pretty much only remain on their side of the map. They will have full control of what happens at every point in time.
Indeed, I was noticing that. That is very smart from the survivors to use the pools on the other side of the map. Exactly what they need to be doing.
Not necessarily. So the reason why I say that that's not necessarily the best thing they could have done is because now, after a very spicy hit there from the Plague, now when the survivors go to cleanse, they have to cleanse on the side that the Plague is already guarding, meaning that they're all going to be infected, all going to be broken, and as we're seeing here, it's going to be an absolute slaughter.
I see what you're saying now. I was thinking of it in the terms of the Plague isn't able to get her power unless she wants to venture to that side, but sure enough, it's looking like this was the ideal outcome for the Plague.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam being sent back to the campfire via the entity. They have one more slug here on the ground, but looks like Plague not going for the pickup, instead trying to find these injured survivors who were behind the main building. Sure enough, the keen-eared viewers may have heard the Nancy back on that gen.
Looking like we're going back for the unhook now, possibly try to force them out to get the unhook, because we know where they are now. We know which side of the map they're going to be playing on.
Yeah, however, Zerino on their final hook will also be sent back to the campfire along with the Adam, leaving just the Meg and Nancy to see what they can do. Keep in mind, though, the side that the Plague wants to guard is opposite of the side where the hatch is. In other words, if they find and down the Meg, I don't think they can reasonably hook them. But the good news here for the Plague, we spotted a wild Nancy.
I see what you're saying with the shack. That is going to be an interesting dilemma for them if they... Yeah, they're going to need to haul butt to that side of the map if they need to, but it's looking like they're going to waste no time after downing the Nancy, and Meg just seemingly coming out on a silver platter for the taking.
Yeah, I think the Survivor team realized what they needed to do to try and claw back some points in some way, shape, or form. However, because the Meg was infected, it gave the Plague just a little bit too much information, and looked like the Plague was able to hear them and sniff them out before going for the pickup on the Nancy.
Indeed, indeed. Well, GG, well played on both sides here.
Yeah, honestly, really well played by the Plague. Survivors did a fantastic job. Unfortunately, that 4th gen just proved a little bit too difficult for them to get on through. And so that being said, that there will be a 4K at 3 gens completed. Chronicles Plague's win condition now is going to be either another tie set, forcing set number 3, or a 4K at 2 generators completed. If the survivors are able to complete 4 generators, that there will secure the win for Iconic, and they will take the match. But with that being said, we are going to go on another quick break. But before we do, remind everyone here today that you, yes, you the viewers, are our sponsors. So that as they watch all the bits that I tip, all the subs that I buy, and of course all the Rogue Energy that you buy using the code COTF goes to supporting Group A and Group B. And once again, thank you all for joining us here today as we have been granted opportunity to apply for our Twitch partnership. So with that being said, we'll keep you updated on the status of that application. But we might be seeing that check mark next to our names quite soon. With that being said, we'll be back in just a bit. right, and this is the final countdown with trial number 4 of Iconic versus Chronicles. For those of you who are just joining us here today, set number 1 was a draw, 28-28. But now we are finishing up a Plague mirror match where Jukebox will be piloting the Plague against Iconic Survivor team, and they need to get a 4K before 3 generators are completed in order to secure victory. A 4K at 3 gens forces a set number 3, and anything other than that will result in a loss for Chronicles and a win for Iconic. Are you ready and prepared, DbdOpinions?
Oh, I'm so ready, and I'm going in this time with the nurse match where I was like, oh, the survivors, they got a clear objective. They got this. But I doubted the potential of the killer, so I don't know. It can be anyone's game. I'm not going in this time going like, oh, the survivors got this. A clear gen count that they got to get done. Who knows? It is anybody's game, and I am on the edge of my seat for it.
Yeah, I will say, you know, looking at this gen spread, I think Juke is making the right choice here, kind of holding out this corrupt zone. I think they need to look at how many gens are on each side and then determine from there which side I want to defend. And I think the main building, which normally we see killers defend, just isn't the right choice.
Right, they're able to catch Adam on the corrupt side and might be able to get a quick down with this.
Yeah,
wasting
however,
no time throwing down that pallet.
Yeah, I was about to say, you know, Shack Pallet going down, though could be a balanced landing coming in here for the Atom, but no additional distance. All the Plague needs to do is force the Atom to go back towards Shack after this drop pallet, and that's pretty much going to have Atom boxed in fully.
I agree. This Adam just trying to waste as much time as possible, it looks like, while the survivors, sure enough, work on gens on the other side of the map.
Yeah, however, Plague just has their eyes set on Adam and nothing else as they vault after vault in this middle jungle gym. These pallets actually not all too strong in the grand scheme of things either, as there are a lot of fillers and a lot of rough tiles for these survivors, but Adam making good work of it.
Right, really well played from the Atom. Just finally the Plague was able to catch up to them. Corrupt now ending on this side of the map. The question is how many more gens might pop during this time?
I will say, not to mention a really aggressive hook choice here with Basement. This might result in Adam getting off their shoulder.
Oh no. Just a little too much to ask for.
Yeah, it was a really greedy play. I understand why they wanted it, but Adam just had a little bit of extra time with 2 gens completed now. It now means that survivors just need to get 1 more gen to force a tie set. And we see that 3 gen on the other side. So it really comes down to the Plague's 4 gen here, and if they're able to defend it to its fullest. Otherwise, it might result in a win for Iconic, as they will be able to get the 4th generator completed.
Right, and it looks like the Jake was aware of it, Ape trying to come over and start work on other side, but the Corrupt Purge doing its work. Are we able to get a trick shot over the logs? We are not able to, but it is still anyone's game since Plague has considered this side of the map their territory.
Yeah, however, Jake doing a really good job here of keeping things going, and Plague actually going away from their 4th gen, instead wanting to get the Jake down, and looks like they're just going to opt to slug them out and go back for the Atom, as we do see the Nancy either touch an infected gen or Adam himself.
Right. It looks like they are starting to get to work on these other gens, getting Adam up in the process. Plague is going to need some tremendous pressure here.
Yeah, absolutely. They do find Adam once again a really dead corner here, using their Corrupt Purge, but Adam just narrowly dodging it, and looks like this is going to be the first hook of this match, and this time I think Juke's going to be able to get them down into the basement for real.
It looks like it. I would be concerned if we weren't able to get the basement hook this time, but there's the basement hook we were wanting. And now, like we were mentioning, they were looking to secure the gens on this side of the map, and Plague just needs to kind of patrol this area right here.
Yeah, however, there's that one gen in the middle there. It's not the worst gen in the world, but it ain't great either. And I think it's going to come down to them utilizing their gen regression perks bit by bit. We saw Eruption earlier. The survivors are well aware of Overcharge. Their fourth perk is still yet to be seen. We'll have to wait and see in that regard.
Survivors taking the time to cleanse, reset, as I'm sure they will be attempting a rescue on the Atom here. Atom probably might be going to second stage, looking like we're just going to secure that.
Yeah, it definitely does seem that way. Nancy trying to make their way in before Atom does progress. There's the Vomit on the Vault as well. They're trying to turn the Nancy, and Juke actually going to be walking away as they do secure the progression on the Atom. Gen's looking pretty quiet over here, though there is that gen in middle that we did see them work on earlier. However, we will see the puke on the Nancy and the Atom, though a really good dodge from both. Ooh. Atom trying to go for the window. Nancy trying to go for a body block, but not remembering that the Plague's puke actually will be able to go through both of them. And this is actually a huge, huge play for Chronicles and Juke.
It really is. They were able to cut them off at the basement with the crab, but Atom with the DS able to try to get out of there. We'll see if there's a lot of distance. A fantastic crouch from Atom. Another one. And not too much distance, but it is able to waste a little bit of their time.
Yeah, I think it's enough, though, that the Plague is unable to get them to basement. You know, Plague not want to take that risk is going to hook, and we do actually see a bit of Scourge Hook Pain Resonance that we have not seen before as they hooked in basement, and looks like they will go for the pickup on Nancy as well.
Indeed, it looks like we're going for the hook over here. Basement looking like it's just a little too much to ask for. The question is, do we have another Scourge Hook right here?
We do indeed. So the most progressed gen, once again, regressing by 15%. Want to note, though, that might not be this gen. And that raised the question, what gen are they working on? But no sign of where these fires may have gone. We see some blood and scratch marks. The Claudette heading on back to the shack. But Plague just wanting to ensure that they're able to get this camp to second stage. I think if they hold this down, they're really going to just shut down everything that the survivors can do.
Right, it's starting to look like deja vu. It's looking like we got the same lineup as last time, but just mirrored on the opposite side of the match. Plague in such a strong position right now, just needs to hold down this side and these gens.
I do want to note here, however, that the tie condition has been met. Meaning that if in the instance the Plague 4Ks at this point in time, it will result in a set number 3. Mastermind v Mastermind on the Coal Tower. With that being said, these survivors are not out of the game yet, even though these gens just absolutely looking like there is nothing that can be done.
Absolutely not the most ideal situation. However, they are doing the best they can. The survivor over by Shaq here, it's got quite a bit of progress on it, able to chug on it just a little bit.
Yeah, however, that Overcharge doing a ton of work on that gen. Overcharge, Eruption, and Scourge Hook Pain Resonance just once again making things very difficult. We're seeing these perk combos more and more often now. As we do approach the middle to the end of the season. You know, something that us at COTF will look at the data and maybe reevaluate for Season 6.
Catching Jake out of place, trying to work on the gen. An Eruption going off on all of them, just taking off even more progression on the gens.
Yeah, on top of which, another Scourge Hook Pain Resonance. That was 10% from the Eruption, another 15% from the Scourge Hook, 25% total on the most progressed gen. And we see the Claudette once again at this gen trying to get a bit of progression. Plague taking their time, just pushing the Claudette around before our Eruption moves off a cooldown. And we will see that unhook. Want to note here, Nancy on Death Hook. Claudette has not been hooked yet. And I will note the fact that these survivors might be able to make something work here if they run to the other side of the map, and I think that's what we're going to see here. I think the gens really are just a secondary thought at this point for the survivors. Yes, the Claudette's out here trying to get it to work. However, I think what they're going to have to go for is a hatch escape or a bleed out attempt even, as they're going to have to force the Plague to make a choice, go for the pickup on the other side of the map or go for the hatch. And if in an instance they're able to get just one escape point out the hatch, they'll be able to claim victory.
We'll just have to wait and see. And I don't know if you've had a keen eye this match, but what is the exit gate situation looking like for them? Have you caught where they might be?
I was just thinking that as well, and honestly been kind of looking around now that I had that thought. And so far, haven't really seen any exit gates on this side. And unfortunately,
right, that was my concern.
So there's kind of a catch-22 here, right? If there's an exit gate behind main, then that means that these survivors might be able to escape there. We see one on the right side there, kind of midway. We haven't got an eye on the second one. If it's behind main or on the other side, that might give the survivors enough time if they get down near Shack, which could potentially force the Plague to slug for the 4K, which could risk the bleed out as well.
Absolutely, and this gen, we used to see it so far progressed, and now it's just down to nothing. But middle gen, it seems to have traded spot. They have seemed to be getting quite a bit of progress on that.
Yeah, however, we see Juke going for the chase here on Nancy. I think that's a bit of a red herring, you know, trying to trick the survivors into thinking they're going to commit to that side and instead double back for the gen. But these survivors going for the unhook, and Plague just kind of camping this, hoping that Overcharge is going to regress the gen as much as possible.
I do not blame them. This is the only gen of concern right now, and they just need it to regress as much as possible. Just trying to scare off survivors on the other gen, and Nancy trying to come back just to touch the gen.
Yeah, they want to stop that regression as much as possible. Nancy once again going in. This gives the survivors on the other gen a little bit of time. Keep in mind, it's going to be 2 survivors. It's about 55 seconds that would take for this gen to be completed, and we see it pretty well progress too. Plague is actually caught between a rock and a hard place if they do not commit to someone at some point soon.
Right, it is looking that way. We knew that middle gen was a little bit of the odd one out, but Jake, surprisingly over here, they are doing a beautiful job spreading out the pressure on these 3 gens and starting to tie the Plague's hands just a bit.
However, Jake in a little bit of an unfortunate position here. They're going to need to find something and find something quick, because if they get hit and down... Wait, that was the last generator.
Goodness.
That was the 4th gen. That breaks
it.
the tie, and that will claim victory for Iconic. They're able to grind it out in the end, even against the unsurmountable odds that were the Plague's gen regression perks.
Oh my goodness, can you imagine the eruption if they just hit Jake a second sooner?
Yeah, literally came down to mere seconds. It would have been a 10% regression, 25-second incapacitation status effect on both survivors. There's no way in hell it wasn't both the Nancy and the Claudette cranking that out in the end, but they have reached their win condition. Iconic will take the W here today in round 5 of Group B. Iconic versus Chronicles. At this point, we're just going to be seeing both survivors and kills alike playing for their honor and for victory.
Very well done from both sides. These 2 teams just absolute masters at Dead by Daylight, just winning by mere points for both sets, just by a little bit. Truly fantastic matches.
Yeah, absolutely. Really great job by both teams. Really coming down to the absolute wire. And we will see the Nancy put on the hook for the last time. We do hear the Claudette once again trying to get that gen eked out just a little. And I believe this might be a Scourge Hook paying resonance here. No, it's not. No regression on that most progressed gen. Jake also trying to complete this gen here. And it's going to come down to these final 2 survivors. See if any one of them are able to escape via the exit gate or the hatch.
Right. I do have to admit my heart is broken just a little bit, because I would have loved to see a mirror mastermind match between these 2 teams.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. I just always love watching Mastermind in general, as they're a new killer. They're still developing in the comp scene, but still really, really strong. New techs getting found out. I'm not sure if you saw like Oz's video on Wesker's like bump tech, kind of similar to Blight, where you bounce into an object, it bounces you back a little bit, allowing you more versatility in tiles. So some really cool stuff that you can do with Wesker.
Yeah, don't patch it behavior. Just leave it.
But this here will be the second hook on the Claudette. Both Jake and Claude now on Death Hook, that much closer to being sent back to the campfire. We do see Jake's scratch marks there, and looks like the Plague will go for the chase. They're trying to identify exactly where they're gone, and looks like they're going deep into the main building. Jake, knowing that this will be the final chase, just saying, all right, come on, chase me one final time. This is going to be my victory lap. And I want to point out, even with the gens not completed, sure enough, the exit gate on the exact opposite side of the map, I think if the Survivors played it right, I think there's pretty much no way the Plague could have won this.
Yeah, very, very good exit gate there, being behind the main building. It would have been very tricky.
Yeah, because you would have slugged for the 4K, then you have to worry about bleed out on these survivors, depending on that point. Honestly, the survivors did a really good job with the gens, but honestly, they could have, worked around that win condition as well. So a lot available to them, but nonetheless, that there will be the final hook of this match. And with that being said, GG, well played to Chronicles and Iconic, and congratulations to Chronicles, taking the set and the match by a total of 2 points.
Very well done. Even though they came out on top, both teams should be very proud. Very, very well done games from both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. But with that being said, we are going to go on a quick break here. We are going to be seeing How Did We Get Here versus Arctic Wolves. With that being said, thank you all for joining us here for this match today, and we will see you in just 10 minutes. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll see you soon.